Everyone, to our first meeting of the new year. Today is January 8th, 2024, and I'd like to call the Mason City Council meeting to order. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday season and you were able to spend it with your friends and family. So it's nice to see everybody back here again. It's time for roll call and then the posting of the colors, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Councilmember Spaeth?
Here.
Vice Mayor Chance?
Here.
Councilmember Bennett?
Here.
Councilmember Hackey?
Here.
Councilmember Gibson?
Here.
Mayor Nelson?
Here. Now it is time for the city manager's report. Eric? Oh, let's approve the minutes from the December 11th council meeting. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the December 11th council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
About that.
That's okay, that was my ear.
Actually, just have a couple of items here. We have several visitors that we'll be able to hear from, which constitute the majority of this. Our next scheduled city council meeting is Monday, February 12th at 7 p.m. For the benefit of residents, the city has begun picking up Christmas trees. That will continue throughout the month of January, especially if we're not preoccupied with any blizzards or snow removal, which is the plan. Just a reminder, residents should place their trees at curbside for chipping and composting. The city does for those. If you place your tree that is in a bag, then it will not be chipped. It will be removed by Rumpke, taken to a landfill. So certainly we hope that residents will take advantage of the city's service. I want to announce, end of this week, there will be a couple of events. Mercy Health is opening their new hospital in Mason. On Saturday, this coming Saturday, January 13th, there will be a public open house for the community. I believe that's going to be between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. So that is one of the newest additions to the City of Mason's business community. Also, as a reminder, in February, Saturday, February 10th, Mason Symphony Orchestra is performing, and it's a mouthful, Butterfly Lovers meets Margaritaville from the East to the Caribbean. That'll be at the Great Wolf Lodge in the Sequoia Ballroom, and tickets are available for purchase at masonsymphonyorchestra.org. That is continuation of our partnership with the Mason Symphony Orchestra to bring this level of programming to City of Mason residents. Community Center members also will enjoy some special offers for that event. Finally, in your packet is some information on tornado sirens. The city maintains 10 tornado sirens. The first Wednesday at noon of every month, those are tested. I think most residents have become accustomed to that. The only time that is not done is if there is severe weather. In order to not create confusion, they may forego the testing of the sirens. Wanted to highlight that a little bit because this is 2024, and in 1974, is when I think residents, businesses were reminded of the importance of tornado sirens. That is a significant event in the history of Mason when tornadoes struck City of Mason, did significant damage throughout the community. So wanted to just highlight that. Very pleased with the tornado sirens we have in place. Something relatively new to improve the accuracy of those and how those sirens are activated is through Warren County communications. In the past, if a tornado was sighted within the county, then all the sirens in the county were activated. That's a bit more refined now with quadrants in the county, so that if a tornado is sighted, say, in the northeast part of the county, it does not mean that sirens are activated in Mason. Whereas if something more proximate in the city of Mason would lead to the activation of the sirens. So that's more a reminder. City does make an investment, routinely inspects, in addition to the testing of the sirens to make sure that those are operational to maximize safety for our residents. That is all I have, Mayor.
Great, thank you. We have an Eagle Scout here today with us. Chief Farrell, would you like to come up?
Thank you, Mayor. It is my pleasure tonight to introduce Advay Chandra. Before I do that, I would like to acknowledge with me also our Ryan Tanner, the Director of Public Works, and Matt Westfall, who is a service manager at Public Works as well. I introduced them because they were part of the team that assisted in helping Chandra with some of the logistics at McKeno Park when he began his project, and he'll probably talk about that a little bit later. Andre is a junior at Mason High School. He was summa cum laude as a freshman and sophomore. He's with the National Honor Society. He's with the varsity swim team and also swims on the Mason Manta Rays. Certified lifeguard, performs with the Mason High School Philharmonic Orchestra. He has played classical piano since he was 6 years old. Founder and active member of Mason Chapter of Spectrum Empowerment, a student non-run profit organization committed to promoting autism awareness. He's interested in pursuing a computer science in college, focusing on the application of artificial intelligence to improve the quality of life for people with disabilities. He just completed his Eagle Scout badge, and that is the reason for the recognition tonight. And also, when he has the time, he enjoys outdoor activity like hiking, camping, and riding roller coasters. Advay, Chandra, we're acknowledging the fact that our assistants helped a little bit with him becoming Eagle Scout. Andre? Advay, I'm sorry.
Thank you, everybody. It's a really big honor to be here right now in this place and this time in recognition of the City Council. And I would like to thank everybody who helped me get this far, especially with the project. Many of you don't know this, but this project has actually been a very long time into planning. I think it's been about 2.5 years overall. It started with a meeting with me and the city manager, Eric Hansen, about certain key environmental issues in the city. And I received a suggestion with him about what to do with a certain plot of land in McKeno Park. Originally, we had thought about doing something like a landscaping project or wildflower garden, but that slowly began to evolve as the city also had other needs as well, and also had other desires too. In particular, I would like to thank the Mason Parks Commission for helping me get this far in the project. They've offered some immense support, and I really couldn't do this project without them. In particular, I would like to thank particularly 3 people, Mr. Ron Farrell, Mr. Westfall, and Mr. Tyree, for helping me out. Your help was really immense, and I highly doubt I could have done the project without you. I'd also like to thank my troop, BSA Troop 43, and I'd like to thank all the volunteers and all the scouts who helped me on this project. It was quite a big project. We planted about 8,000 seeds overall in an area of, I think it was about 30,000 square feet. And I know I definitely could not have done that alone. Again, thank you, everybody. The sunflower garden that we have planted in McKenna Park, I think it has been that of a huge benefit to the city. And again, once more, I would like to thank everybody who helped me, who helped us achieve this. And I would also like to thank the city for helping grow and helping maintain this overall. Again, once more, thank you.
Thank you, Adve, and congratulations.
We'd like to get a photo with council and Adve and maybe his scout troop leaders.
I just wanted to say real quick that for those of you who don't know, the Eagle Scout is the highest achievement attainable in the Scouts, and only 4% of the Scouts achieve this level. So it is quite an accomplishment, and you are a wonderful youth leader here in our community. Next is number 7 on the agenda, and it is an award recognition for Mason K-9 team. Chief Wells, would you like to come to the podium?
Thank you, Mayor. It's my privilege tonight to recognize 2 of our finest officers, K-9 Bruce and Nick as well. The duo here was recognized by the National Association of Professional Canine Handlers as the Narcotics Detection Team of the Year. They received this award. This is not just an Ohio award. This is a national award through the organization, and Officer Motley and K-9 Bruce were selected for this. And while I would love to highlight all the work that Officer Motley and K-9 Bruce do for the city, I would be here all night. So I've selected a couple of things of note here that I think are very important. On July 21st, 2023, Officer Motley and his K-9 partner Bruce were requested to conduct a free air sniff in Westchester for a vehicle that had stopped. Bruce detected the odor of illegal narcotics and alerted on the vehicle. The subsequent search of the vehicle turned up 1.5 pounds of fentanyl, 180 grams of cocaine, 20 grams of meth, crack cocaine, and approximately $3,000 in cash. Later in the shift, same shift, he was requested in Deerfield Township to assist with an intoxicated driver at Walmart and again used Bruce for narcotics detection. Bruce alerted on the vehicle and over an ounce of marijuana was discovered. Those two busts alone are pretty much career busts, but Nick had to go the next day with Canine Bruce and top that. On 7/22/23, the State Patrol requested mutual aid on I-71 for a tractor trailer they had stopped as part of an ongoing DEA investigation related to a drug cartel out of California. Bruce again alerted on the tractor trailer, and they recovered between $400,000 to $500,000 in cash. That was the original amount that they thought. As they got later into the investigation, they discovered that the tractor trailer actually had $849,557 of cash that was subsequently seized. So congratulations for Officer Motley and Canine Bruce for their hard work in protecting not only the city of Mason as well as surrounding agencies.
Let's get a council picture.
Okay.
Okay, next on the agenda is the American Legion presentation to the Parks Foundation. American Legion Commander Mark Baseman is here today.
Good morning, Mrs. Mayor, or good afternoon, Mrs. Mayor, council members, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mark Baseman. I'm the commander of the Mason American Legion Post, Joe Bar Post 194, and this is our finance officer, Karen Snyder, whose job it was to crunch all the numbers for the last 9 months during all of our fundraising activities. And it is my pleasure to announce that again this year, Joe Bar Post 194 has a rather significant donation to the Mason Parks Foundation this year in the grand total of $16,855. So we want to thank the citizens of Mason for coming out during the Music in Mason series, Red Rhythm and Boom, and all the other events where we do fundraising, because all that money that you spend buying a beer goes to a fantastic worthy cause. So thank you. And we've got a little check for you here, Mrs. Mayor.
If I can have Rachel Koppler and Susan Murdoch to come up here as well. They're here, there they are. Rachel, would you like to say a couple words?
Yeah, just on behalf of the Mason Parks Foundation, we always appreciate the American Legion and what they do. And then just to make a point too, that the funds throughout all the years that they've been doing this have gone towards, McKeno Park and Common Ground. And now that that is a reality, those funds are now going towards the building of the adaptive baseball fields for the Challenger League at McKeno Park. So if you are in the area, I encourage you to drive by and see the progress. The construction is well underway, so it's very exciting that we will have 2 new adaptive ball fields, hopefully in the spring, for our world-famous Challenger League under the supervision of Susan Murdoch. So I want to thank her for all of her hard work. So thank you.
Great job. I just wanted to say real quick with the American Legion, they're splitting the profits 50-50, and the American Legion actually takes their portion and invests it back into the community through numerous scholarships. They've done top soccer, so they've really been quite an asset to our community. Also to say thank you to the volunteers, because I found out that they have 3 to 4 people during the week to help with the prep, and then 6 to 10 volunteers during the event for the sales. And then there were volunteers that put approximately 15,000 stickers on Dora cups this last year. So a lot of people are involved to make this happen, and it's such a great thing for our community. So thank you. Number 9 on the agenda is Isha Mantha with Save the Children presentation. Jennifer?
Mayor, just a couple of guests with us tonight. Isha and her teammate have a presentation for a project they've done. A couple of our Mason High School students as well, the very impressive students, to show us a project they've been working on this evening. So with that, if you want to come up to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Isha Mantha, and I am the Ohio Student Ambassador for Save the Children.
And my name is Shruti Pulipaka, and I'm the founder of organization Health Advocates for Humanity.
And today we're going to be presenting the campaign Bridge the Gap on behalf of Save the Children. So the campaign Bridge the Gap is hosted by Save the Children, the political advocacy arm established in 2014. Save the Children, with a century-long history, passionately believes in securing a future for every child worldwide. This dedicated advocacy extends the Action Network, emphasizing political engagement for the rights of children. Let's explore how these efforts continue to make a lasting impact on the lives of children globally.
Save the Children uptakes many projects yearly. Some of the major ones include global hunger crisis, the Ukraine crisis, drought threats in Somalia, and child poverty in America.
This is our agenda for today for our slideshow, and we are first going to be giving an overview of early childhood education, specifically in Ohio, the significance of early childhood education on the legislative agenda, the impact of COVID-19 on early childhood education, and the campaign itself, Bridge the Gap for Kids.
The goal of early childhood education in Ohio is to establish the groundwork for cognitive, social, and emotional development, which brings lasting benefits to young children. This includes enhanced school readiness, academic performance, and social proficiency. As a state, Ohio struggles with challenges that ensure equitable access to quality early childhood education programs in areas of affordability and availability. This limited impacted access causes decreased readiness for our working world and is causing setbacks that show later throughout life.
By establishing a solid academic foundation, we set the stage for success, correlating with higher graduation rates and increased enrollment in post-secondary education. Beyond academics, investing in early childhood education is an investment in our economy, creating a skilled and competitive workforce, while breaking the cycle of poverty through essential skill development. Moreover, early childhood education contributes to holistic growth by fostering social and economic skills. This, in turn, equips children with the tools necessary to navigate relationships and collaborate effectively throughout their lives. As we address educational disparities rooted in socioeconomic differences, our legislative efforts actively champion equity, ensuring that quality early childhood education is accessible to all children. Together, these intricacies underscore our commitment to shaping a brighter and more inclusive future.
The impacts of COVID-19 on early childhood education is profound, as the widespread closure of facilities has disrupted the learning environment of children during crucial developmental years. The transition to more contact-free ways of educating has led to disparities, especially in technology and reliable internet from students of various economic and social backgrounds. As the impact of the pandemic has shaped young learners' skill sets such as attention span and quality of education on basic skills, it is up to us to look forward to address this issue to the best of our ability.
This leads us to the overall campaign, Bridge the Gap for Kids. At the heart of this initiative is the unwavering commitment of advocating for increased funding in early learning programs across the U.S. Save the Children Action Network believes that it is a child's future should be determined by dreams, not deterrence. SCAN aims to provide every child with a foundation, ensuring a leveled playing field for their development. This campaign underscores our dedication to breaking down barriers and creating a future where every child can pursue their dreams with confidence and determination. Your support in this mission is instrumental in shaping a world where every child, irrespective of their background, has the opportunity to thrive. Things that we as citizens can do is spread awareness for the need for increased funding, donate to organizations like Save the Children, and promote the learning of young individuals. Also, something that me and my partner, Shruti Pulipaka, have done is create a blog called beyondbordersadvocacy.blogspot.com, where we advocate for changes needed in our world, including poverty, early childhood education, and much more. Thank you so much for joining us today, and have a good day.
Thank you, ladies. Good job. Okay, 10 on the agenda was the Mason Mile update, but they are going to give it to us in February instead. So we're going to move on to number 11 on the agenda, which is recognition of visitors. If there is anyone here for the public hearing, we will allow you to speak in just a few minutes. This one, it's number 14. Is when you can speak for the public hearing. So if there's anyone else who would like to come to the podium and speak, just to remind you that there is a 5-minute limit.
John Looker, 111 East Main Street, Mason. Along with my other hats, I also have a hat which is a commissioner for Veteran Services of Warren County. And I'd just like to read, not only for our Mason veterans, but also all Warren County veterans, our numbers for the month of December and end of year. For the month of December, we drove 21,878 miles, and we had a total of 470 runs to doctor and hospital appointments. From January 1st to December 31st, we did a total runs of 6,921 runs and 275,327 miles. We also give out financial aid at the commission, and for the month of December, we had 4 veterans came in, and we gave them $2,718.64. From January 1st to December 31st, we had 91 veterans, and we gave out $77,896.66. So I'd like to remind all the veterans out there, if you need assistance, please come and see us down in our Lebanon office on Cherry Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Looker. Okay, would anyone else like to come to the podium? Okay, we'll move right on. Item number 12 is Resolution 2024-1. Jeff?
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 2024-1 commemorating the grand opening of Kings Mills Hospital in the city of Mason. Whereas Mason has a commitment to building a culture of wellness and recognizes that the addition of Mercy Health Kings Mills Hospital to the city is a significant contribution to that mission, and whereas the Mercy Health mission includes actively extending healthcare access, enhancing outcomes, and the fulfillment of their compassionate ministry of improving the health and well-being of their communities, and whereas Mercy Health also strives to drive value through emerging technologies, investments, and partnerships with emphasis on research, innovation, and engagement. And whereas the City of Mason shares these values and goals with Mercy Hospital and looks forward to continuing to strengthen and grow the early partnership with Mercy and Kings Mills Hospital. And whereas 3 years ago, Mason City Council voted to formalize its commitment to Mercy Health, helping facilitate the construction of the first hospital in the city. And whereas Mercy Health's new 30-acre medical campus and 157,000 square foot Kings Mills Hospital is representative of their commitment to serving the community's healthcare needs in the city, Warren County, and the region. And whereas Mercy Health will bring nearly $200 million in investment and add over 250 new jobs in the city, serving as a contributor to the city's economic development strategy that targets key healthcare attraction investment such as Kings Mills Hospital and Medical Campus. And whereas the City of Mason wishes to sincerely congratulate and celebrate with the leadership and employees of Mercy Health Kings Mills Hospital on this grand opening and say, welcome home. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Mason, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring, Section 1, that the Council of the City of Mason hereby designates and commemorates the grand opening of Mercy Health Kings Mills Hospital. Section 2, that this resolution shall take effect and be enforced from and after the earliest period allowed by law.
Thank you, Jeff. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Like a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there any council discussion? Okay, roll call.
Vice Mayor Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett,
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibson,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Spate.
Yes.
All right, number 13 is Resolution 2024-2. I need a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Jeff?
Requesting the county auditor to make tax advances during the year 2024 pursuant to Section 321.34 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Eric?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is really a housekeeping resolution. Council has done this every year. In essence, what it does is taxes such as property taxes are collected by the county, and they have several months before they need to distribute those to localities such as Mason. By virtue of this resolution, state law does allow cities such as Mason to request the advance of those funds to allow them to be delivered to the city and to allow better cash flow with the city, as well as allow the local government to earn the additional interest for itself rather than the county enjoying those. As I mentioned, council has approved this for the last, I think, 12 years. It makes the finance director happy, which makes the rest of us happy. So we are recommending adoption of this yet again.
I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any council discussion? Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Bennett,
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibson,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Spate,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Chance.
Yes.
Okay, item number 14 is ordinance 2023-108, which is the public hearing. I need a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed?
Amending the zoning code and zoning map of the City of Mason, Ohio to provide for the rezoning of approximately 30.13 acres from B4 Commercial Recreation to R1 Single Family Residential located on the east side of Columbia Road, north of Kings Island and south of Kings High School.
Kurt, would you like to discuss it?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is a rezoning that came to the December Planning Commission meeting, and Jordy Bacon, our planner, has the presentation.
Thanks, Kurt. So as both Kurt and Jeff mentioned, Kings School District purchased approximately 30 acres from Kings Island, and they're proposing to rezone it from B4 to R1. So the property in question is highlighted in blue here. It was previously owned by Kings Island. As I mentioned, Kings School District has purchased it, and they're proposing to rezone it. Immediately north of this property is the Kings School District Bus Depot, which is in the City of Mason. It's also zoned R1. R1 is one of our single-family residential districts that allows development for public institutions like schools. And then immediately north of that is Kings High School, which is in Deerfield Township. So this does not meet our comprehensive plan. Our comprehensive plan does call for this to be commercial recreational like Kings Island, but is property that has been vacant and does meet those surrounding zoning because of the bus depot and the school district. So for those reasons, Planning Commission did recommend approval. And so we are recommending approval of ordinance 2023-108 this evening. And I'm available for any questions.
You do that?
Okay.
No, I'm magic. Yeah, that was all me.
All right, I'd like to open the public hearing at 7:40. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to come up to speak? If you can list your name and address when you get to the podium, please.
Greg Sears, 5854 Buckingham Lane, Mason. I'm here this evening. First, I'm the proud superintendent of Kings Local Schools, and I'm really fortunate to be here this evening. I want to thank City Council for the opportunity. I'm also here with Matt Lucky, who is our Business Operations Director. So we, want to thank the City Council for considering the rezoning of this. This is a property that's important to us as we have begun a master planning process within our school district to advance some of our facilities and relieve some of the growth challenges that we're having within Kings. And so through that master planning process, our community has been recommended and will be on the March 19th ballot, a bond issue for 5.971 mils for a new Kings High School and some additions and renovations at other buildings. This property enables us the flexibility to accomplish that plan should the community support and approve that plan on March 19th. So we appreciate the consideration from City Council. We also have a great partnership with Kings Island and are very fortunate to acquire this property at a very nice rate for us, showing their commitment not only to Kings but also our community as well. So we thank you for your consideration and the process along the way. We're happy to answer any questions, but thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come to the podium? Okay, I'd like to close the public hearing at 7:42. I need a motion to adopt.
Second.
Is there any council discussion? Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Spaeth?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett?
Yes.
All right, next on the agenda is ordinance 2023-109. It is the public hearing. I need a motion to read by title only.
Second.
All in favor? Yes. Anyone opposed?
Approval of a major modification to a concept planned unit development plan for the Tower Park development located at 710 Tylersville Road, Tower Park.
Kurt, would you like to discuss it?
Back to me again. So this is a revised concept plan for the PUD that's going in on the WLW Tower property. So City Council last approved the concept plan in February 2020, and then Planning Commission approved a final development plan in 2021. Due to market conditions and COVID and things like that, the developer never got around to constructing, and they've come back before us and they are requesting an increase in the square footage of the building. So when they brought this to Planning Commission ultimately determined there was a major modification to a PUD. So a major modification can include an increase or a relocation of areas or uses. So what you're seeing in front of you on the screen was that approved final development plan. And this is what they're proposing to change. So you'll see that blue box has gotten wider. So there was a setback of 24 feet between this site and the property next to it. Because of this increase, that setback's being reduced to 15 feet. Planning Commission ultimately voted for this to be a major modification to the concept plan, which is why it's back before you tonight. They did recommend approval, and as a result, we are recommending approval of ordinance 2023-109. But I did just want to have a little discussion about what happened at Planning Commission. We are just looking at the concept plan tonight. We're just looking at the expansion of the building. But through the public hearing at Planning Commission, some residents did speak on some broader concerns on the project. They had some concerns about the screening behind the self-storage facility, that the mounding wasn't graded properly, the landscaping hadn't been installed yet, and there is an existing fence between the two properties and maintenance of that and who was going to be responsible. So between that December Planning Commission and this evening, myself and the city subdivision engineer, Scott Burkhart, we went out and we walked the site with the contractor and the landscape architect for the project. We identified areas where the grading wasn't what it was supposed to be. We pointed those out to the contractor. They've agreed to either put seed and straw or do some sort of planting on the backside to make it a little more aesthetically appealing to those homes behind. I am magic, it keeps happening. They've also agreed to add some additional trees in gaps where there weren't trees to provide that screening for the residents. So while that's not something that's being considered tonight, I did just want to kind of keep you abreast of where we are in the process. So with that, we are recommending approval of ordinance 2023-109, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. All right, I'd like to open the public hearing at 7:46. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to come up to the podium? Go ahead. Please state your name and your address. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Molly Stagney. This is my husband.
Matt Albert.
And we live at 5957 Thornberry Court. We've actually lived there, I've lived there since 2005, which is when I bought it. And so we spoke at the planning committee. This is much condensed from what we did there because I know we don't have a lot of time, but I just wanted to give you a brief overview. So this is the original, one of the more original plans. I put a star where our house is. So we are directly behind the 3-story structure that is expanding. So just a couple notes on just getting to here. These are a couple of letters from back then where we talked about not tearing. So we went to meetings back then, and a big concern was tearing down mature trees, right, when they were originally deciding to do the development. And so there were some assurances made that that wouldn't happen. And so it can't be undone, but that did happen. So I just wanted to share some Google Images views of our house beforehand and our house now, and you can kind of see some of the trees that were removed. This is a view from the road. Again, one is in summer and one is in winter because Google Earth doesn't have apparently winter pictures. But this was taken, so May 2019, and then most recently in December, and I took these pictures for the planning committee. So you can see our house, I have brackets around it, and you can see how originally we couldn't really view Tylersville Road, and now this is just taken from that side street, right? So not Tylersville, but the one that's perpendicular. It's taken by that roundabout. So you can see that full view, not up on a high story. I'm not especially tall. You get a pretty clear view of our house. Pretty significant loss of trees. At this point in time, there were no trees planted behind our house. So the ones had all been removed and none had been taken. Since then, we've had actually 3, I noted 2, but there's actually 3 evergreens behind us and a deciduous tree, but you can see they're really far apart. So I don't know if this is final, but just there has been some progress since December Planning Commission, but in general, you can see like we're gonna have a really nice view of a 3-story building. So this is a more panned out view. You can see again, I don't know if more is going to get planted, but that entire structure is my entire property. Like it's 100% mine and maybe like 10% of my neighbors. And you can see that there's not a whole lot of coverage in mine. In fact, there's a ton of trees down to the right, and where I am, there's very few. Where we are, sorry. This is, again, also being addressed, but I just wanted to show what this looked like as of December. So the top left picture is a view of the mound standing on it right behind our house. You can see that from the road, it looks really nice and is covered with like grass and trees, but from the residential side, it's not aesthetically very pleasing. It's, there's a lot of trash. There's no ground cover. It's not green. There's a lot of trees that have been downed, and some of that is just, old ash trees from forever ago, but that weren't cleared out. And that, likewise, the fence line, as Jordy talked about, isn't in the best condition. Now, they were out there literally today with a giant backhoe thing, and they were clearing a lot out. So it actually, they were making a lot of progress and getting a lot of the dead things out behind our property. So it's getting better, and probably we'll have fewer bugs in our yard. But basically, this is the part I wanted to talk through. So this is 2016, what it originally looked like. You can see, I put a star where our home is. You can see that there's actually, in the original one, some kind of bubbles around it. Those are actually the old mature trees, that they were part of the original sketches. And you can see as well that the 2021 approval starts in my east side neighbor's property and then goes to, towards the edge of ours. But the new one is the entire length of our property and extends into neighbors on either side. And it's a 3-story structure, which I believe is maybe 32 feet, if that's correct. But basically, yeah, the concern is, that when we met, so 2019, the developers had a meeting, we met at Marion's, they assured us how they were gonna work with us and how it was gonna be, really not, they were tearing down a lot of things, but it was gonna not be too much of an impact because between the mound and the trees, we weren't gonna really be able to see much. And you can see that, those lines haven't held up. We can see a lot from where we are.
They had a diagram with a really nice stick figure and to represent someone in their backyard, and then they had the things that were going to be built, and they said specifically there would be no line of sight from the residences along that back fence to whatever is being built. And that again was back in, when was that, 2019, so plans have changed, but go ahead.
And also that lights would be facing away from homes, which maybe they will be, but I wanted to mention because that's pretty important to us. This slide, I'm not going to go through the details because it would take forever, but the gist is just, it feels like we shouldn't necessarily need to be involved in order to have what was promised happen. And so as of April, the mound was planted on, they put grass seed on it, they put trees on it, and behind our property was 2 feet on one side and 4 feet on the other. And figured out how to contact the city, figured out how to work with them, how to notify people, figured out how to notify my neighbors so that they could contact the city, so that they could check behind their houses. And then in the fall, it was after the Planning Commission's work,
Not you.
no, okay, sorry. Maybe it's just girls are up here. And then, sorry about that. And then, and then in the fall it was raised. So it is it is much closer to 7 feet, much improved. Very sharp, which I think they're working to rectify. And again, seeding is a concern and the trees are concerned. But overall, it is definitely improved. But it's also, I feel improved because we've complained and because we've worked, but I still appreciate the improvements. I definitely appreciate it. It's just been a bit tough to be so I think our request overall is, I'm not sure that you have necessarily, I would love if you can just say you can't expand it, but I'm not sure that's in your power. But I do think that it would be really good to have some actual hard requirements of what kind of border we have between our properties and a 3-story structure that's now being built there.
I think part of the focus. I mean, we've used the word aesthetic a couple times. It's not so much about how pretty the view is from our backyard as the line of sight issues. There was right before the meeting back in December, there was a car that got pulled over around that like kind of roundabout back there, and in my fifth grader's bedroom, there were blue lights blinking a whole bunch. Well, that's a new thing for him that we had. Things are fine. It's just, you know, it's the thing that you can see out there. So I think it's just more about, like I said, like that line of sight from within just kind of those residences that are all along the back of Tylersville.
Yeah. So I think that's just our goal was to show you a little bit of how it's been to date and how it is from the resident side, and then also just to request that whatever is decided, that consideration is taken into additional barriers between whether it's like additional evergreens or like a fence upon the mound, but something to provide an additional barrier between us and the very large building that's behind us, or that will be behind us. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Hi, my name's Clem Sheridan, and I live at 6285 Thornberry Court. I moved into my house in 1990, and one of the reasons we purchased that home is because of the WLW tower being there, acting as a buffer. And it was great until, God, who was it? iHeartRadio sold it to the development firm out of Boca Raton, Florida. We had the first public meeting with them, and the guy was telling us, they don't own it anymore, I don't think. How many developers have owned this piece of property, Mr. Hanson? Are we now with the third owner? There's at least two. Okay. Well, there's at least two, and every time there's a change in ownership, there's a change in plan. First of all, why do they want to make this building different than originally?
So I do have representatives from the developer who can answer that, but my understanding and conversation with them is that it just, with the economic climate the way it isn't financially feasible with the size that is currently approved, and that's why they're looking to expand.
Again, they started work on this, back in 2021? The car wash is there, and the people from Boca Raton blew a lot of smoke in a lot of people's ear, including the council up here, how wonderful this was going to be, and the only thing that's there is the car wash and the streets. I talked to Mr. Burkhart, God, back in July or August when one of the issues came up about the landscaping and the buffer. And I asked him, I said, well, don't they have to have approved plans? And he says, well, what do you mean? I said, well, if I'm building a house in the city of Mason, we're going to dig the foundation, and probably a city building inspector is going to come out and check that and sign off on that, and then we're going to put the house up, and we're going to be inspected by, you know, for plumbing, for electrical, code, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, don't we do the same thing for this? And he said, well, not really. That's how we have the disaster with the berm, because it's not inspected, and I believe you said that they were back walking with Mr. Burkhart and somebody else to make sure, you know, that the berm and the landscaping has been done correctly. Why does that even need to be done in the first place? Okay? When is this going to start? When they cut a bunch of the trees down, they bent the fence behind me, and one of the trees is hanging over into my yard. I talked to Mr. Hanson about this when I was talking to Mr. Burkhart, and he told me that the city originally was never in favor of approving this, but it went ahead anyway. So it's been a disaster since the first day. I'm not happy with it. I've been here since 1999, and I'd like to know if, when, are they going to start construction on anything this year?
So if they want to start construction on the self-storage, they would need to hypothetically receive approval this evening. Then it comes back to Planning Commission. They would see final development approval there, and that's when we would discuss the landscaping, the trees, the building materials, things like that. Hypothetically, if they receive that approval, then they would submit construction drawings and for building permits, and then they would get the permits and they could start construction.
I'm venting, okay? And I don't think any of you live on Thornberry, and if you did, you probably wouldn't want this going on in your backyard, okay? So I think you all need to have a meeting with this developer and have a hard conversation and say, this is what has to be done before they're allowed to move 1 inch of dirt. Because when I talk to Mr. Burkhart, I know where this is going, folks. You're going to pass this thing tonight, okay? And it's going to go along the same way it's been going. It will. Believe me, it's been going on this way since this was originally approved. And I'm asking you, to do what you're paid to do. Make sure that this developer lives up to every single item that they said they're going to do. And if they don't, stop the project. Again, if I was building a house and I wasn't meeting the codes, you all would shut it down, or the planning department would shut it down. And that's how I think this needs to be addressed. I have one more question. The fountain that's in front of the municipal building, does it work? Why? And when is it going to work? I think we spent $250,000, $300,000 when this building was built, and it still doesn't work. I'd like to know why it's not working.
I can't explain. It's not working. I don't anticipate it will work again as far as flow water in it. It worked for several seasons. It developed some very expensive leaks. In order to rehab it would have been cost prohibitive. We took out the lower fountain. It was found to be more efficient and did not detract from the building by taking the water out.
So the taxpayers spent $250,000, $300,000, $400,000 for a fountain that doesn't work.
Taxpayers have probably saved more than that in the.
You're missing the point of my question, but thanks for listening.
I know that the developer is here. Would you like to go to the podium and respond at all?
Good evening, Mayor Nelson and members of council. My name is Jose Castrejón. I'm with McGill Smith Punchin, 3700 Park 42 Drive, Suite 190B, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45241. And I'm representing the developer. Developer Mark Jackson's here as well with me to answer any questions for you as they might come up. Thanks to staff for helping us through the process, and as mentioned in their comments, there's been some modifications that we've had to do to the plan, knowing full well that at Planning Commission we were adjusted and being considered as a major change, so we're here to kind of, for the reasons stated of the additional need for additional square footage, but we feel that it's a needed change, and in our case, a minor change as it relates to the building issues, knowing full well with the comments from staff and from comments from the residents last time, we understand and we working with them, as mentioned, in dealing with the buffer issues. We are well prepared to discuss that at the next level at Planning Commission as needed, but I wanted to address that we obviously have been working with them. We've added some plant material. We've obviously started doing the cleanup as discussed, so we are obviously moving forward and working with both staff and the residents based on their concern, knowing that the details of that will happen at Planning Commission if we move forward. As can I make that come up? Or the As shown here, obviously, this is the overall plan that we're proposing. This was the associated plan that we had showing the landscaping and buffer that was planned to be, and was approved at Planning or was going to be approved at Planning Commission prior to us moving and modifying the concept plan, and which is what we're requesting today, is that change to the concept plan. So we wanted to show how the landscaping is still in play, both on the east side, but the buffer in the back has not been changed. And from the very beginning, the intent of that buffer was to maintain the tree row, knowing that the honeysuckle plays an important piece. Most people don't like honeysuckle. At tree rows, we like the honeysuckle, but because obviously it provides that screening in the summertime, as shown by the picture from the residents. The summertime honeysuckle is dense, therefore we plan to keep it as part of the buffer, and then add the buffer, add the mounding and the landscaping as you see here. So as we move forward to the new building, it's about a 12% increase in square footage. The main building A increased because of the need for additional climate control. In order for the project to work, we needed to increase that. Therefore, that building increased. Some of the small buildings decreased, but you can see the plant material that we're adding in addition to what we were proposing, and maintaining that buffer that was approved early on. And then this plan shows kind of the highlight areas of the increase and some also the decrease. Ultimately, the math ends up being about a 12% increase in square footage, but we feel that we didn't go into the buffer. We only moved east or west, but maintained that buffer throughout. The height of the building has not changed, so what was approved before, that hasn't changed, and I know this is not the forum for the architecture, but the architecture also will be modified to be more of that four-sided architecture as was discussed before. And here's some of the 12% increase of some of the buildings increasing and decreasing. So the increased width is about 30 feet along the backside, but again, the buffer is maintained, additional plant material, and as mentioned before, we're working with the staff and the city in making sure that the cleanup is happening back and the adjustment of the mound is per plan, and knowing full well that if this gets approved, we cannot move forward with any building permits or approvals unless we do that buffer based on what was submitted and approved. Any questions for myself or for the developer? So we're requesting that you consider approval of the concept plan as submitted based on the recommendation from staff and the Planning Commission.
Would that landscaping buffer be done before you start?
The intent is to have it continued. We always have to be careful with obviously weather issues and availability of plant material, but the intent is that buffer will continue to be planted, seeded, and ready to go prior to construction and during construction and be maintained. In addition to that, the contractor will have a requirement that the installation of the plant material will have warranty, so during construction, that anything dies, they have to replace it to make sure it's being taken care of.
I also saw on the drawing there where you just have the circle of the landscaping back there, and you know the residents brought great pictures. Thanks for that. That really means a lot. Those trees weren't very tall, and they were on this side of it, not up on top of the hill, which would be better. So how big are you going to have? Bigger landscaping up top there?
The things that we've submitted were typical plant material availability that's in our area, 6 to 7 foot, 5 foot evergreens and deciduous. We have added plant material where some of the gaps that were shown by the neighbors were shown, even though it didn't have the honeysuckle cover because it was a wintertime look. We've added additional plant material based on those discussions we've had with from the Planning Commission. So where that gap was, we've added additional plant material.
Vice Mayor Chance. Vice Mayor Chance, did you have a question?
one additional question.
Sure.
So you're saying that the pictures that they showed tonight with those trees and their houses really in the open, and the trees are kind of on the side, and they're relatively small, probably 5, maybe no bigger than 6 feet.
Right.
There's stuff that's been added to that since the picture's been taken?
No, we're going to be adding additional plant material based on some of the discussions.
I think that brings me to my question. I hear you guys loud and clear. On the line of sight, it's not going higher, it's going wider. If you're looking, if you're looking at this, it does look like there's substantial landscaping that's going to be added. And I totally agree that prior to moving forward, this should be in play. Is this something that, looking at this, it looks like a lot of coverage to me? Is this adequate for you guys, do you guys think, in regards to coverage?
You had trees that were 10, 15, 20 feet tall, and you replaced them with a tree that's 6 or 7 feet tall.
Well, I understand, yeah.
And it takes 20 years for an arborvitae to get up to that height. I'll be dead by then.
And, well, then, you need to,
Ma'am,
and I'll share that. I do have a question for the developer also.
If you'd like to come back up to the podium, people at home can't hear you. If you're going to continue to speak, yes, that would be appropriate.
But real quick, Mr. Jackson, were you the original owner when this plan was in play for the storage, or did you come in after?
Mark Jackson. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana, 6900 South Gray Road. We purchased the site from a company in Boca Raton called Vertical Bridge and did the master planning for the project and met with the neighbors and have come back subsequently and asked for the extension. It sounds crazy, but building costs went up so high during COVID that we ran the numbers to try to build the project like we originally designed it, which would have worked pre-COVID, and we couldn't make it work. So that's why we tried to come up with the least offensive way to try to add some square footage. Another point that nobody really talks about, in that larger building, only 70% of the square footage that's built is actually rentable because of hallways and all the other common space. So yes, we're adding some square footage, but we're not really adding a whole lot of revenue, but enough to try to make it work.
Right, that's for the climate control, correct?
Yes, sir.
Because I heard you guys say you decreased some of the buildings, but you increased that building.
Yeah, we
Yes, because the revenue of climate control is substantially higher than
yes, sir.
just dry stuff.
That's right.
Whatever. What else? Yeah, the line of sight, I mean, like I said, I was somewhat, yeah, if you guys want to come up now, that'd be good. I'd like to understand that better.
So 12% keeps getting thrown around, that it's 12% larger. It's 30 feet wider. Like, it increased from, that building increased from 40,200 square feet to, is it 52,000?
52,470, so if you look at the
That's
95.
a 30% increase.
95 by 140 turns into 125 by 140, 30 feet wider. It is now 31.57% wider.
Yeah, I think what they were talking about also, though, is you got to take in consideration the decrease of the other buildings.
True,
So collectively, it's 12% amongst all of them, is that correct?
Is that what the 12% represents?
The impact upon residents is not 12%, right? So anyways, you had asked though about the coverage, right? So on the chart, those circles are large, right? They're not little tiny circles, and that was a great point about being built on top of the hill that I have just gotten accustomed to, right? That I would have expected them to be on the top because then they get their maximum height. Some of their height is lost by being a couple of feet down. It looks great from Tylersville. But from our point of view, it obviously blocks a lot less. I think that the difference is what I was trying to say before is if you look at the far out picture, if you look to the left, you look to the right, there's a lot more trees, and then there's very few where we are. And we are the biggest property being impacted by this. This is our entire length of our backyard. And there's the fewest amount of trees behind ours. And we're the ones who've had to fight to make it, like, you know, a larger mound and things like that. So
Yeah, if, I understand the question about, like, you know, is this adequate? Personally, I would like to have more information, such as what are the, you know, each of the different circles, how tall are they now, how fast do they grow, how wide do they get, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be able to give you a fair assessment just based on this diagram, but, well,
I would just say personally, I would prefer that in this section, deciduous trees are nice and it's great to have a mix of trees, but I think in this case, you would want to have, they can be different evergreens so they don't, you know, like, we don't have ash problems where they get each other sick. But I think that should be almost exclusively evergreens to make as much of a block as you can behind this super, you know, much higher property than the rest of the extension behind the, behind Thornberry.
Real quick also, was the mound there prior? It was not, it was flat.
There was no mound. Oh, I'm sorry.
Height of the mound is 12 foot, 7 foot.
The requirement 7
But
feet.
you add on to the plants or whatever, so increasing, I mean, you know, to Councilmember Gibson's point, and both of yours, and I believe Clem's, putting it on top of the mound is the preference because it would add obviously much more additional height.
Exactly.
And the buffering.
I just wanted to add one other comment that I forgot. The comment on, so the honeysuckle behind our house was not 2 stories tall. Like, the honeysuckle doesn't grow that much taller than maybe like 10, 15 feet. So yes, if the honeysuckle had never been torn down, it probably would cover as high as the mound is, but it wouldn't cover the portion past it where the trees are designed to cover.
yeah,
So,
and a lot of that honeysuckle is gone from the, I mean, the reason that we have a Google Earth image is because that's what was available. We didn't know that we should be taking pictures throughout 2018 to be able to do a before and after. We looked it up in May of 2018, I think, is what was available. A lot of that honeysuckle is gone. Not complaining. A lot of that honeysuckle is gone. So it doesn't quite look like that as a coverage. Is there a path to figure out a proper level of barrier, like visually for line of sight? Yeah, maybe. I don't know if this necessarily represents that. I guess I would need to know more before we could say thumbs up, thumbs down. Is that fair?
Makes sense.
Okay.
I would just 2 cents, when we the very, very first meeting on this years ago, I think probably 2016, back then a couple of the folks who live behind Culver's, right, so they obviously live on Thornberry as well, they came to the meeting as well, and they were like, they had a really large fence built behind there. So granted, they have, you know, 2-story office buildings behind their house. But they were like, oh, don't worry, like, it all works out. Like, the developer works really closely with you, you'll get, like, plenty of coverage, like, it's not really, you know, just basically don't be concerned because it'll all be kind of taken care of for you. So just wanted to comment that, I don't know what my point is, but.
Thank you. If I can just comment real quick, I am on the Planning Commission, and this was a huge issue that we did discuss in length. You know, we're sorry that you've had to go through this. It's unfortunate that you didn't get the landscaping that you were promised. And Steve Harkey from our city engineer department did state that he was going to make sure that whatever was approved before, that landscaping will be taken care of. So I don't know if that helps at all, but it was talked about in great detail in Planning Commission.
Yep, and that was basically the main reason we put in the request for you know, additional visual barriers, because we knew that Planning Commission, I think, is doing a very good job of trying to execute what has been established.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you.
If I appreciate those comments, and if I can add to that discussion. So I'm a landscape architect by training, so I know a little bit about plants, not as much as I probably should or used to when I was younger. But as it relates to plant material, the intent of the honeysuckle and the mature trees. So if you look at any tree row, you have typical honeysuckle and trees that are still there that are tall. So in the summertime, the upper canopy has the foliage, as the picture showed in the original picture. The lower level, kind of the 7 foot, is usually taken care of by the honeysuckle. That's a typical tree row. In our case, the intent was to keep the honeysuckle as it as it was and keep the canopy trees on the tree row. No, it's right on the borderline. We didn't do any grading there. Yes, some of them died, some of them fell, and we're taking care of the cleanup of that. So I think we can all understand that. The addition to the mound is to supplement the honeysuckle. So the mound is 7 feet, honeysuckle grows about 7 to 8 feet tall. So that's complementing that buffer. Adding then evergreen trees like arborvitae, like the plant material, will provide additional coverage to that low level, knowing that at the upper level, the canopy of the trees that are not in leaf now will leaf out and provide that same picture that you saw on the before and the after that was shown. But the mound takes care of the honeysuckle that is not present in the wintertime. So prior to us developing, if you would have you could still see the street because there's no mound, so we're supplementing with the mound. I appreciate the comments from the residents that, talking to Mr. Jackson, that we can add additional arborvitae. So an arborvitae is a fast-growing evergreen shrub/tree that grows about 8 to 12 inches a year. We use them a lot. A lot of the projects that we worked in Mason have used arborvitae and grow 12 inches a year once established. So we try to plant material at a 5-year interval. So in 5 years, we want to make sure that when they grow into each other, that they stay healthy and things like that. So imagine a 12-inch growth per year of those trees that are hardy and will be planted on that plant material. In addition, talking to Mr. Jackson, is we can add a few more as recommended or as needed behind that building A, and we can have those plans for Planning Commission where really this should be, the details will be adjusted. And as discussed, it appears that staff obviously will not sign off on it until we do that, and we understand that, and we're willing to stand by that. So hopefully that answers the question. Again, sorry for the technical aspect of landscape architecture.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.
I have a question. Jordy, you said that, is it my understanding you said that if we approve the concept plan tonight, it will go back before Planning Commission again, correct?
Correct, yeah. So really, what Jose sort of touched on, what we're looking tonight really is just the widening of that building. That's the change in the concept plan. The landscaping is important, but not changing in this. So we're just looking at the widening of the building. If that was approved, then they come back to Planning Commission. The other option.
Would that be the next meeting?
Depending on how quickly they get their plans together, any conditions you may add about landscaping that they need to change, but anywhere from
Would
the
there
next
be
meeting
another
onwards.
public hearing at the Planning Commission meeting?
There would not be a public, Planning Commission is a public forum, anyone is welcome to speak, but not a public hearing in the legal sense where we notify.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, would anyone else like to come to the podium? Okay, I'd like to close the public hearing at 8:21. I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any council discussion?
Mayor?
Yes.
I just want to continue to say this. I was on Planning Commission when I think it first came before Planning Commission. I don't know what year that was. And that was, like this gentleman said, there was all kinds of things that were being described that were going to be put on that land, like a daycare, restaurants, retail. I can't remember. I remember the car wash, the storage. I feel like there was probably a couple. I don't remember a gas station, but I feel like there were some other things. It was going to be like a little shopping kind of area and some restaurants and stuff. So I think, if there's been some changes since then, I understand how COVID has affected everything with building. It might be a great idea to have another meeting with the residents. I know a lot of residents came out then from both your community, but also across the street that were concerned about the traffic and everything else. So I don't know, maybe you might want to have another meeting with the residents to give them an update about what your plans are to do there, because I have had a lot of people ask me what's going on, because it has been very slow progress, and I understand why. I mean, COVID has affected construction everywhere. But that might be a way to, a goodwill gesture for Because we really, I mean, I'm not on planning commission now, so I don't know what the current plans are for anything else. But I have had some people say that, you know, all there is a car wash, so what else is going there? So the other thing I just want to say is, you know, like Jordy just said, we're just approving this concept plan, and it will go back before planning commission. This is where you can get these details worked out. I know from being on planning commission, it has been very successful for residents to be able to come and voice what they want on certain projects. I mean, I believe that the developers here are going to do what is going to be in the best interest. I appreciate that you guys have been able to come and be willing to tell us what's going on. Otherwise, we don't know what's going on. We don't get an update on every project that's going on in the city all the time. So I hope that you will attend the next planning commission meeting. I hope that you all will be given notice about that, and you can hopefully get some of these things worked out so it'll look a lot better for your backyards. Thank you.
All right, does anyone else have anything that they want to talk about? No? Oh. Yes, council member.
Jordy alluded to us adding requirements. Is that possible in this meeting? Or is that something that happens in planning commission?
Yes to both. So if you want to add a condition, that's at council's leisure. You're more than welcome to do that. Planning commission does also add conditions onto their approvals as well. So if there's something that you felt based on this discussion Unite that you wanted to include, you'd be more than welcome to do that. And then if that was, hypothetically, if that was approved with the condition, then that plan that they bring back for that final PUD of planning commission would need to meet those conditions.
Has a fence been discussed? Well, it's chain link, it doesn't block any light. Was there ever a fence discussed?
So on the initial, Molly, do you mind if I pull up your presentation? Thank you. So one of the conditions of approval for the original concept plan was that the developer needed to come up with it's hard to read, but number 5 over here, establish ownership and maintenance responsibilities for the fence. So that's something that after Planning Commission December, we talked to the developer and the contractor about, and the developer is starting to draft some language about maintenance responsibilities, notification of residents, and how that would play out. Ultimately, that's not something that the city would be a party to. He did send it to us to look at, and we sent him some comments back, but there's nothing final, but that is something that they did take on board from December and are working through.
Okay. Time for roll call.
Councilmember Gibson,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Spaeth,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett,
No.
Councilmember Hackey.
Yes.
Okay, number 18 is ordinance 2024-1. I need a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a pre-annexation agreement with Eric Entwistle.
Kurt?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. As Jeff mentioned, this is for Eric, Eric Entwistle. He's at 3490 Bunnell Road. That property is located on the north side of Bunnell Road, just east of the entrance to Avalon Farm Subdivision. And this is our standard pre-annexation agreement that that's required for property outside the city to receive water or sewer services. And it does require that they pay 1.5 times the current rate for water or sewer until they annex. And it also, with 2 months' notice, they need to pursue annexation to the city. So this is our standard agreement. They're currently on a well and would like to tie into our water system for the house. And with that, I'll answer any, it is located in Union Township, and with that, I'll answer any questions that you may have. Ordinance 2024-1 is recommended for adoption.
I need to motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
All right, council discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mayor Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Spaeth,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett,
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibson.
Yes.
Number 19 is ordinance 2024-2. I need a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Stauffer Site Services LLC for the Grizzly Golf Course Hole 9 Cart Path Bridge removal and storm sewer installation in the amount of $142,560.
Kurt?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a portion of the project of the master plan that was developed by Herdzan Golf starting back in 2020. This is a small piece of that project that will help with around hole 9, just beyond the green, or as you're approaching the green, there's a cart path bridge that's in disrepair, and there's some pictures in the council packet where the surface of that bridge is in very poor condition, and the bridge structure itself is in poor condition. So what the master plan calls for is that bridge to be eliminated, replaced with a small storm sewer, and it will also extend the fairway, so it'll help with the playability of that hole. And this is an improvement that we feel it does not need to be done by a golf course, a normal contractor that does golf course work. It can be done by any type of contractor that's used to laying storm sewer pipe. So this is a project we'd like to get under contract now so that it can be done early here in the spring, and then allow for that hole to be played throughout the summer months. We did request quotes from 5 contractors. We got 2 responses within just over $1,000 of each other, and Stauffer Site Services was the lowest bidder at $142,000. We do have $150,000 in the budget for this project in the 2024 budget. And with that, ordinance 2024-2 is recommended, and I will answer any questions you might have about this.
Thank you, Kurt. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Council discussion.
Mayor,
Yes.
you said you're replacing the bridge with a storm sewer?
Yes.
Can you describe that? I can't visualize what that looks like.
It's a portion of the pond. This is a pond that was modified after the golf course was originally constructed 50 years ago. This bridge is over a small stream, and it just needs, I think it's maybe a 30-inch storm pipe to be installed to allow that stream to flow in the same area where the bridge currently is. And then
It would just be grass?
Right, yep. And then
Oh.
we'd be able to extend the fairway where the bridge is basically right now, so, yep. Sure.
Okay, anyone else? I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Okay, we already did that, sorry. Roll call.
Councilmember Spaeth,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett,
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibson,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes. All right, ordinance 2024-3. I need a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed?
Accepting the State of Ohio grant and authorizing related reimbursement agreement.
Eric?
Thank you, Mayor. This is largely a housekeeping item. It is related to a significant story, though, so it does bear maybe a little bit of explanation. As council is aware, I think everyone is aware, the Cincinnati Open, the tennis tournament that's been hosted in Mason for many years, was purchased by BMOC Capital in October 2022. And what commenced then was a decision-making process whether they would continue the tournament in its home of Mason, Ohio, or relocate to Charlotte, North Carolina. Mason took a leadership role, but was joined by the state of Ohio, Warren County, as well as regional partners, both public and businesses. And after many months, were successful with BMOC announcing their intentions to continue to hold the tournament in Mason, Ohio. I think many folks at that point thought was great. There's a lot of success and celebration of that. And what I've continued to remind folks is, yes, that was a great moment, but the work is not done. There's considerable work as part of securing that commitment, the scale of the investment, the number of partners, including the state of Ohio, requires significant coordination and negotiation to make sure that the success we celebrated there is actually realized and that the tournament is secured long-term in Mason. That being said, it does bear recognition the efforts of Senator Wilson and Representative Adam Matthews as part of that process resulted in securing $22.5 million in the form of a grant through the state of Ohio's operating budget. That is intended to go towards BMOC's investment on the site and to, which they are making to prepare the campus for 2025 when the tournament is to double. But the nature of that grant through the state of Ohio operating budget requires that a locality like Mason be the holder of the grant and then take the lead in coordinating how those funds ultimately are dispersed in favor of the project. What the ordinance before you means is this is the city acknowledging and accepting the state's action to provide those funds and agreeing to work with BMOC Capital as the project comes on board to make sure that the funds are managed and distributed as the project commences over the next couple of years. Just want to once again emphasize strong relationships with the state, with Warren County, certainly the business community locally as well as regionally have been essential to accomplishing this. Both the capital budget or the operating budget allocation as well as anticipation for future capital budget allocations. City staff are continuing to work with all of these partners and across all the departments with a considerable amount of work that will continue to go into negotiating further agreements and ultimately secure the tennis tournament in Mason. That being said, this takes care of one piece and is worth a small measure of celebration, acknowledging that there's going to be many more steps as we move down this process. Ordinance 2024-3 is recommended for adoption.
Okay, need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Any council discussion? Okay, roll call.
Vice Mayor Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett,
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibson,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Spade.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-4, I need a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a service agreement in the amount of $8,000 with the Mason Historical Society.
Jennifer?
Yes, Mayor, members of council, in 2020, the city redeveloped its policy related that guides our contribution to local nonprofit organizations. The new policy retains the requirement that for every city dollar contributed, the organization that is participating in the program provide proof that they've raised $2 from other sources with a total amount of city contribution not to exceed $8,000. The benefit to moving to a service agreement arrangement provides an opportunity for the city to work collaboratively with organizations to craft a partnership that furthers their mission, but also aligns with our mission and some of the things that we're trying to do here at the city as well. A number of these service agreements provide services that the city does not. They do things such as provide promotion opportunities for the community center and the aquatic center. There are some services, for instance, Humane Society, they do removal of animals and help reunite families with their animals. And there's also training and educational opportunities that these organizations will provide to the city or to our residents. The Mason Historical Society has participated in the city's nonprofit programs since 1993, the Warren County Humane Society since 2002. Services provided by both these organizations remain a very significant contribution to our city. With that, Ordinance 2024-4 and 2024-5 are recommended for adoption. I'm happy to answer any questions for you.
Okay, I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Any council discussion?
Mayor,
Yes.
I just want to take a few minutes to sing the praises of the Mason Historical Society. I think they're they're one of the organizations that I'm very proud that we partner with. They are preserving the history of our community, and I know there have been people in the past that just referred to it as a social club, and this is much more than a social club. If you've never visited the museum, you must go and see it because it's all volunteers that keep it up, and it's amazing what they have done inside to preserve the history of our town. It only costs, and part of this service agreement is they have to match what we are authorizing here. And you can have a membership. An individual membership is only $20. A family membership is only $30. And one thing that you get with that is either you can get a hard copy newsletter or you can get a digital newsletter, and they are very, very informative and very fun to read. And I'm just going to say December 2023, they had a story about Ralph Spaeth. He is the last Spaeth brother that is still alive. There were 4 brothers here in the city of Mason. Ralph is going to be 97 years old in April, and I can guarantee you he can run circles around all of us. He's pretty amazing, and Uncle Ralph, they called him the man, the myth, the legend, and he really is if you've ever talked with him. And there was a picture in the newsletter of him with Frank Batchy when they were very young, and unfortunately, Dr. Batchy just recently passed away. He was a dentist in our town back when I was growing up. So I just really hope that everyone will take some time to either go visit the museum or become a member and learn more about our history. And I also want to mention, I know Eric briefly mentioned it earlier, April 3rd is the 50th anniversary of when the tornado hit Mason. And I was 14 years old then, standing on the back porch with my mom and my brother, and we stood there and watched the funnel in the sky, and when it hit the ground, it went toward Mason. And it really did, it devastated our town at that time. And so the Historical Society is going to have an event on April 3rd of this year to commemorate that, and I know that they've interviewing people. They've compiled pictures and all kinds of stuff that they're going to do. And I know they're working with the city, with Eric, to get a venue large enough. They need to know how many people are going to be attending. So please RSVP if you're interested. And you can call their number at 513-398-6750 to RSVP to that event. And I know Eric is trying to even expand it a little bit more, I think, to make people, to do some other activities, I think, with it, because it really was a huge thing that happened here back in 1974. So I just want to say a few things about that. I love the Historical Society, so please go visit them. Thank you.
Okay. Any other council discussion? Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Bennett?
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Spaeth?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Chance?
Yes.
Right, number 22 on the agenda is ordinance 2024-5. I need a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a service agreement in the amount of $8,000 with the Warren County Humane Association.
I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? All right, I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
All right, council discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Spaeth?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett?
Yes.
All right, we are on to committee reports. I'm not sure if anyone has had one due to the holidays, but does
I
anyone
did.
have a committee report? Councilmember Bennett?
It's my first committee report ever. The Park Advisory Board met on December 14th, so I got a chance to meet all of the members, including Councilmember Gibson's wife was on the park board. Chrissy Avery gave a report, particularly over all of the holiday festivities planned for the community center and in the city. One thing I wanted to share is that they have launched a community-built calendar. So I had to go find it in an email, so I'd love to see it added to our website. If you go to masoncommunitycalendar.com, you can add events, or you can find events that other people have added, which I think is a really great opportunity for us to let each other know about things going on in the city. And you just have to click the Submit Calendar Event button on that site to add yours.
All right, that's great. Thank you for the update. Anyone else?
Mayor, I just want to say I have asked Eric to go ahead and schedule a safety committee meeting and a rules committee meeting, so we'll be doing that hopefully soon.
Okay. All right, we are on to old and new business. Does anyone have any old or new business?
Mayor, briefly.
Yes.
I just recently built a house and we have no grass, so I have to walk my dog. And I get the pleasure of living pretty much in downtown Mason, and I'd be remiss to say we killed it this year with the Christmas lights. Absolutely looks amazing, and it made my my dog walks at night just very pleasurable. So it was kind of cool too, because I'd be walking downtown and there'd be a ton of people videoing our downtown efforts. So I know, Dan, you've done a lot with that down there. And everyone else involved just absolutely looked amazing. So it was a sight to see. It was awesome. So thank you for all your efforts.
It was beautiful indeed, I agree.
Yep.
Does anyone else have?
Mayor,
Yes.
just to add to Councilmember Chan, or I'm sorry, Vice Mayor. I'll get that by the time your 2 years is up, I promise. But to add to your comments, East Main felt a little of the love this year as well. I know we did the battery-operated lights, which are a little limited in their capabilities, but it was nice to see the lights going all the way down East Main as well. So hopefully the residents and the business owners along East Main got a chance to enjoy those and recognize the effort that went into putting those out. So thanks to staff for getting that done as well.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes.
I just want to say this, just repeat what, in the beginning of the meeting, we recognized our police officer, Nick Motley, and our K-9 officer, Bruce, because they were awarded the Narcotics Detection Team of the Year by the National Association of Professional K-9 Handlers. And I, as chair of the safety committee, I think I would be remiss if I didn't repeat that, because that is such an honor, and we're really proud of our first responders. They really do so much for us 24/7, as everyone knows. And I just wanted to repeat that again in case anyone missed that at the beginning of the meeting. Thank you.
Anyone else? I have a couple things. As much as I am a supporter and advocate of the Home Rule Authority, it is important to note that not every issue falls under Home Rule. And to kind of recap, the Home Rule Authority is a special authority that's granted to municipalities through Article 18 of the Ohio Constitution, and it allows municipalities to create laws and take action for which the Ohio Revised Code does not specifically give authority. And here's a good example of a city that created a law that conflicted with state law. The Office of Ohio Attorney General David Yost filed a lawsuit to overturn the City of Athens' ban on single-use plastic bags within its borders. The ban took effect with the new year, and the lawsuit states that the ordinance undermines state law. And I thought this was really interesting and kind of important just to note it, because as local officials that we are, we know this, we cannot create laws that conflict with state law. And this is, it's obvious in here, and it's kind of interesting that the state of Ohio did take action on this. Of course, we have Jeff Forbes, our law director, who keeps us compliant, but I just thought it was interesting to see that, and I just kind of wanted to report on it. Also, I sent Eric an email with just a couple different grants that are out there, and Eric had said yes, that we are already going after one of them, and that is the H2 Ohio Chloride Reduction Grant Program, which will award $1 million in funding to municipalities for equipment upgrades that will prevent the over-application of salt on Ohio roads and reduce the amount of salt runoff. Items that qualify for the funding are live edge blades, salt spreader control systems, brine mixers, and structural upgrades to salt storage facilities to prevent groundwater contamination. And municipalities can apply for the single grants up to $75,000 through January 31st. So Eric, you will have to keep us updated if we get the grant. Does anyone else have any old or new business before we move on? Nope. Okay. Item number 25 is recognition of visitors. Is there anyone here who would like to take the podium again? Of course. We love hearing from you, Mr. Looker. Take your time.
You ran up there last time.
Yeah, right. John Looker, 111 East Main Street, Mason, Ohio, and the lights did make a difference. Thank you. I was just reappointed to a national committee for the American Legion, which is Veterans Education and Employment. And I wanted to bring up a House bill that will help all veterans with disabilities. It's House Bill 90, and what it does is it'll give those who have disabilities, if you have a 50% disability, 50% will come off of your property taxes. But it's a win-win for the city because the state is supposed to reimburse the city for those losses in property tax. But I wanted to make a mention of that so that if you can contact your congressman, say you'd approve of it, it would help me. Thank you.
We will do that. And thank you for being such a great advocate for our veterans. We really do appreciate you. Okay, anyone else? All right, we are at the last item, which is executive session for discussing details of security arrangements and emergency response protocols, but I think we're going to add a topic.
Correct, Mayor, if I could. Much like I think that was at the last meeting, we would also like to add an executive session for shorthand, what we'll call economic development, but under the statute, it is to consider confidential information related to the marketing plans, specific business strategy, production techniques, trade secrets, or personal financial statements of an applicant for economic development assistance, or to negotiations with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance, provided that the statutory requirements are met.
Okay, thank you. I need a motion to adjourn into executive session.
So moved.
All in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Gibson? Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Spade?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett?
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Just real quick before we go into executive session, we do have a birthday here on council. Vice Mayor Chance, it's your birthday.
Look, and the chief stuck around.
Exactly.
It's not donuts, Chief.
Does anyone want to lead in singing happy birthday to Ashley?
Happy birthday to you.
Birthday, dear.
Vice Mayor Ashley.
Happy birthday to you.